Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're gonna do the part 2 of Marantz amplifier because recently I received all the capacitors, and how we saw on the first part of this project that the amplifier is more than 40 years old and the smoothing capacitor failed. I decided to change all the capacitor inside of this amplifier. So without further ado, let's start opening this amplifier and start changing all the capacitors. Okay, so let's reopen again this amplifier and start changing all the capacitors. First I'm gonna take out the amplifier board from the chassis because I'm gonna start changing the capacitors on this board. As you can see here in this board, some of the capacitor was changed, but I don't know when, so I prefer to start again to change all the capacitor. Like that I'm gonna make sure that everything in this board is perfect. Here we go, how looks this board after I change all the capacitors. Looks everything more neat, and I'm pretty sure now everything is gonna works better than before. And now that I finished changing all the capacitor on the amplifier board, it's time to put it back on the chassis and move to the next board. This is how looks the radio board with the old capacitor in. So my next step is gonna be changing all the capacitor on this radio board. The radio board have lots of wire connected to it, so I just need to lift it easy in order to change all the capacitors. Using the desoldering station that was gift from Vishal make my work much easy, and definitely I can say that it's really a good tool to have if you are doing repairs. Finally I finished changing all the capacitor on the radio board and looks much better now. Here we have the selector board with the phono stage that also get a refresh on the electrolytic capacitors. And now it's time to change the capacitor on the tone correction preamplifier board. This is how looks the capacitors on the board right now. So they are really old, so really need a refresh also here to have a good sound. Also in this board it's not that much easy to get the capacitors. You need to move really slowly to be careful to don't break any wires, because also here there is lots of wires around. So it's time to take two at a time out capacitors and come with the new ones in. These are signal path capacitors, so we're gonna use really good ones, Nichicon Gold. Okay, so it's time to come in with the new Nichicon Gold capacitors. Checking good the polarity to make sure that I am putting on the right place. And now is the second one coming in. Now let's solder them on the board. And here a closer look to the board with the new capacitor in. Definitely it's gonna looks better, and also the sound it will gonna improve. This is the low and high pass filter board, and these are the capacitors that we need to change. And this is how it looks now with the new capacitors in. Looks better, right? This is the speaker protection and power supply board. That was really hard to get to the capacitors because the wires was very short. I needed to mark some wires in order to desolder them, to take the board out and to manage to change the capacitors. And now let's change the smoothing capacitors, because these are the problem. That's why the amplifier was not working. So in order to fit in the new capacitors, I need to drill some holes in order to mount the PCB board that I designed with all these 4 capacitors in. And finally I finish also to mount the smoothing capacitor in. All the capacitor has been changed in all the boards. So everything what I need to do now is to connect some speakers and to give a try to see if everything works how should be. Okay, so I finished changing all the capacitor. Let's see now how it's working. So let's power off this amplifier. And let's try first the radio. So I'm gonna just increase a bit the volume.
Cameras. They often call me
Not looking too bad on Bartish's Rose right now. A little bit of a delay on the M20.
That is essential.
For the copyright reason, I need to move straight away from the channel. But here is working everything correctly. So let's try now connect music from the computer, non-copyright music, and let's see how it's working just the amplifier. Okay, so let's try now with the non-copyrighted song from the computer. So let me just prepare the song, turn on the amplifier. Let's play the music. Looks like it's working perfect, no hum, no hiss, no nothing. I'm really happy, so the project go well. Oh yeah guys, I'm really happy to see the amplifier working again. So, it took a while to fix it. I was, in my free time, I was doing maybe like 2 or 3 hours a day working on it, changing very slowly the capacitor to make sure that everything is okay. How you can see, there is a bunch of wires, and to make sure that I will not broke any, because it's really hard to understand also the schematic, because I found it by the way online, and following the schematic I managed to change all the capacitors inside. During the trial I noticed that there is a bit of sketching on the volume pot. I cleaned it as much as I could, but still there is that kind of stress noisy, like, you know, when you turn up and down the volume you feel that sketching on the speaker. So we're gonna look to order one, and definitely I'm gonna change it also, that one. How you can see on the first video, we identify what was the issue, we make a list of components, and we change all this capacitor to make sure that it will gonna run for more many years from now and then. And if you don't see the first video, I'm gonna just put it over here. And until the next video, bye bye guys, and have a good day.